And one.
And welcome to Chat with Gunner, episode 4. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for listening. Thank the 21 of you, including myself, for leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. Thank you guys for sharing the YouTube link. Thank you guys for liking everything that we're doing so far. The first 3 episodes have been fairly successful. A couple guests, a story on my Adderall addiction. So we have started off Chat with Gunner with a bang, and we are going to continue this on episode 4 by doing a little Q&A, some fan questions, some direct messages that have came in, and this is just over the past week. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into them tonight. This episode should be fairly a quick episode. Hopefully it's around 30 to, let's call it 45 minutes. See if we can bang this one out, get you guys out of here, get you some quick content, and just kind of give you some thoughts on some of the questions that the fans have been asking over the course of the past week. All right, so the first question's up. Hey Gunner, what's your thoughts on UFC 246? Well, I'll tell you exactly what my thoughts were on UFC 246. I thought that it was fantastic. I paid $65 for it. I had a couple buddies that went to Vegas, paid $1,500 a piece for their tickets. I know they had a blast, but it was a fantastic card. The card was a little light on the undercard, the prelims, but the main event, it did exactly what I said it was going to do in episode 3 of this show. And that was Conor McGregor come out firing. He looked good. His interviews were great. His mindset seemed sharp. He seemed in a very good place. He wasn't the Conor McGregor that was over the top and being a character. It seemed like the Conor McGregor that we all grew to love when he first came into the UFC. It seemed like a very humble Conor McGregor. And that fight, you couldn't have Hollywood scripted that fight to go any better. I mean, 40 seconds out of 20 significant strikes thrown, he landed 19 of them. I mean, he broke his orbital bone with a shoulder strike, for Christ's sake. So, yeah, very, very great, very well done by Conor McGregor. I'm pretty sure I called that one on the previous show. But in the next question, just a quick follow-up. I put these kind of in order so this show could flow for you guys. Hey, Gunner, who does Conor fight next? Great question. That's a fantastic question, and I just happen to have a pretty good opinion on this. So here we go. Here's what I think happens. And if you break down Conor's pre-fight interviews, his post-fight interviews, and all the media leading up until UFC 246, you will hear Conor talk multiple times about being named a specific number on the Forbes highest paid athlete list of the past 4 years. All right? So let's look in 2017, or is 2017 or 18, he was pretty high on the list, like top 5. That was when the Floyd Mayweather fight was, right? So Conor has been on the list 4 or 5 of the past years. Even last year, not even fighting, just through his Proper 12 and his other Reebok endorsements, right? So I've heard Conor say multiple times that he wants to top that list and be the first MMA personality at the top of that list. So that kind of gives me an idea of what's the plan for Conor McGregor. What's the season going to look like for Conor McGregor? He keeps talking about this as a season. So here's what I think. Here's what I think is going to happen. Tony Ferguson and Khabib are going to fight in April. I think regardless of how that fight turns out, Conor doesn't fight either one of them. I know people are speculating that Conor Khabib is the biggest fight in UFC history. We've heard Dana White say that. All the media outlets are saying that. And Conor versus Tony would be a good fight, but I think we put that on the back burner for right now and think bigger picture, think money. People are saying Conor versus Nate Diaz 3. Yeah, but let's think bigger than that. The biggest star right now in the UFC, besides Conor, is Jorge Masvidal. He is the perfect antagonist for Conor McGregor. It's literally Hill versus Hill. But Conor's not Hill anymore. Conor is this humble, grateful guy that's trying to come back on the rise, looking for an opportunity to be the king again. He had a perfect first fight against Cowboy, knocking him out in 40 seconds. Now, Jorge has knocked out Cowboy as well. He's, one of the few that has put him away. I think the next fight, it makes sense. The next fight is Conor McGregor versus Jorge Masvidal in late spring, early summer. That's my prediction. I think that's a big money fight. I think Conor is probably going to pocket, let's say, anywhere between 20 and 50 million just for this Cowboy fight, between endorsements, proper 12, and his salary and his bonuses and the back end pay from the pay-per-view. And I think he could do the exact same thing, if not a little bit more, with Masvidal in the middle of the year. Here's the kicker. Here's what nobody's talking about. I think this is all to set up a December boxing match with either Manny Pacquiao or a rematch with Floyd Mayweather. That right there will make him $100 million. So if he could do those three things in this year, he's already done one. If he could do two more of those things, he's going to hit roughly between 150 and say $220 million for the year. That would for sure put him at number one on the Forbes highest paid athlete of 2020. And I think that's what Conor wants. And if he can knock that out of the way, now we're going to see a little bit more of the showman Conor, a little bit more of the charismatic Conor, a little bit more of the cocky, confident Conor. Because then he could go in 2021, let's say early spring, late winter maybe even in the summer. You have that matchup. If Khabib beats Tony, you got Khabib. If Tony beats Khabib, maybe they have a rematch early in the year and he gets the winner of that. But that would then be the biggest fight in UFC history, and Conor could kind of start to dwindle down a little bit. I know everybody wants to see him fight more, but that's kind of where I see him going. I feel like if Conor can fight Jorge Masvidal, big paycheck. Do a boxing match in December, big paycheck. Something in the springish, early summer 2021 for a championship. That would be how Conor makes all of his money. So that's my thoughts on that. So the next question was, hey Gunner, how's the podcast doing since you transitioned to Chat with Gunner? Fantastic question. I love these questions. It's doing okay. I think so. The numbers were skewed with the Facebook Live. On the shows that we were seeing, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 of views, right? It's easy to get that on Facebook through marketing. And what I was able to do was after every show, I'd put $50 to $100 of advertisement into a show, and I knew what the numbers were going to be. It was going to draw 4,000 to 5,000 views, and then the other ones were organic based off of what the show did. But it was a good way of getting the brand of 60 Minute Broadway out there. For Chat with Gunner, I'm taking a different approach. I want everything to be organic, at least for the first year, so that I can have a good way to measure it. If you look at the YouTube videos, I'm trying to put them out on Facebook and social media to get people to click over to them. It's going to be harder. It's harder for somebody to click onto a YouTube video and actually watch than it is to just see a video on Facebook and have it start playing and get the view. A lot of the views that we had on Facebook were 3 seconds or less. We're kind of seeing the same trend of numbers that we saw on Facebook when it comes to the how many people are watching for 5 minutes or more. That's kind of what the numbers are right now for the YouTube show. The actual listeners, the people that are truly listening to the whole show or watching the whole show. We're seeing over 100 pretty much on each episode. And then through Buzzsprout, it puts it out on all the podcast platforms. I'm assuming that it's counting those views from each platform. You're looking at over 50 listens per episode. So we're doing okay. It's a pretty consistent platform that has a built-in audience, a small audience, right? But that's okay. That's what I'm doing this for. It will grow eventually, organically, but I don't expect anything to be huge within 4 episodes. I have very realistic thought process going into it, but obviously the goals are bigger. But yeah, I think the podcast is doing great. I think it'll only get better. I think that, getting away from strictly wrestling is going to be beneficial. Getting into interviewing people in Chattanooga is going to be great. And the success stories will kind of write themselves. And that leads into the fourth question. Hey, Gunner, what's the plan for the show? The plan for Chat with Gunner originally, before we even got this thing started, was to play off the word CHATT with Gunner. Chat with Gunner. Chattanooga with Gunner. Someone from Chattanooga chatting with Gunner. That's the idea. So my plan is to start reaching out to people in the community, local to me, that I can get a hold of, that I can get in studio, that I can have a conversation with, that have been successful, that have a good story, that maybe have hit rock bottom and built their way back up, maybe have dealt with an addiction and been able to overcome it, maybe that have started a business and been successful that way, or was an athlete and made it to a certain level, whatever it might be. I'm looking for people in the Chattanooga area that I can have a conversation with, that people can listen to and can enjoy. That's the plan for the show. I think that it will grow and it will be big, and I truly think that it will be the biggest podcast in Chattanooga. I don't see why it wouldn't be. I'm not trying to compete with the top podcasts in the world. I know that, but I'm in Chattanooga, and I have a good name in Chattanooga, and my plan is to be the Joe Rogan of Chattanooga. Get you off the news outlets, get you off the talk shows, get you off the little short clips. Come on here, and we'll just have a conversation. If it lasts for 3 hours, it lasts for 3 hours. If it lasts for 30 minutes, it lasts for 30 minutes. But I'm going to give you the platform to be able to say what you want to say. That's the plan for this show. So the next question. Hey, Gunner, when is the next wrestling event? Great question. Great question. The next wrestling event is going to be February 7th, Southern Honor Wrestling, Canton, Georgia. It's the only promotion that I'm working for. It is going to be against Sunny Days. So the setup for this was, at the last show, I had a match against an up-and-comer rising star, Sean Legacy. That match lasted less than 2 minutes, and then I was cutting a promo in the post-match, calling out a former nemesis, which is Logan Creed, who was the champion, who I screwed of the championship at Southern Honor Wrestling the month prior. And Logan's teammate, tag team partner, stable mate, his music hit. He came to the ring. His name is Sunny Days. He hadn't been there for a while. There was a great stare-off in the ring where the crowd was going crazy. There was a good energy in the ring. People want to see this fight. They really do. And then we set the match up. So the match is February 7th. It's going to be me versus Sunny Days. I believe it's just going to be another stepping stone for me in my run at Southern Honor. We're telling a good story. We're not doing the traditional, everybody's got to have a good match. We all got to get our spots in. My whole deal there is just to tell a story, and that story is going to be a year long. So come on for the ride. It's going to be fun. So come on down, Canton, Georgia, Action Arena, Southern Honor Wrestling, February 7th, 8 p.m. Make sure you get there, get your seat, check in. It's a great show. It really is. A bunch of great wrestlers, especially in the state of Georgia. So come check it out. Then that's what we're going to be doing with that. Leading in to question number 6. Hey, Gunner, how did the weight loss go from last week that you touched on briefly? Great question. Another great question. Love these fan questions. You guys keep them coming. So last week I was in a tad bit of a weight loss challenge with some of the guys from my office at work. And here's how it happened. A bunch of the guys have been having weight loss challenges through the year. I listen to it. I have to sit there and listen to it all the time. And these guys, they typically don't lose any weight is usually what happens. But they talk a big game. They're going to do this, do that, change their diet, start exercising. None of it happens, right? They start another challenge over. And so, I'm the type of guy, I'm pretty competitive. And when I set my mind to something, I go after it. I'm stubborn in that way, which is good and bad. So I threw my name in the hat. I was like, hey, listen, I'll jump in the contest. Let's do it $100 a person. First to lose 25 pounds. I don't have 25 pounds to lose, but I will beat you all to it. Well, then once I joined the contest, people didn't want to put money in because they were scared of losing, because they would have, and I would have collected, about $500. But truly, I have no business winning that contest. I shouldn't have won that contest with the people that were in it. I had already been losing weight, trying to slim down a little bit. In November I weighed 245. In December I weighed 235, and these are based off my wrestling appearances. And then in January I weighed 225 at that show. So that was the second week of January. Now, when I went into this contest, I was like 225.4, and they wanted me to weigh in at the office. I was like, guys, that was me butt naked weighing in first thing in the morning. There's nothing in me, no water, no nothing. That's as light as I'm going to get. So they weighed me in later that day. I was like 227.4. So it goes, into my favor. So the plan was, how fast could I get down to 202.4? That was the plan there. So I started doing some research, trying to figure out like a weight cut, water cut, a mixture of, calorie deficit, manipulating water, sodium, less food, the whole shabam, because I'm crazy like that. Don't have an amateur wrestling background or MMA background. I've never done a water cut, right? So what I did was a lot of fasting. 1 meal a day, one small meal a day at night once the day was over, and a lot of water. So day 1 gallon of water. Day 2 gallons of water. Day 3 2 gallons of water. Day 4 2 gallons of water. Day 5 3 gallons of water. Day 6 no water. And on the 7th day, I cut down to 209 pounds, and that was over the weekend. So we all weighed in at work, and I had lost 18 pounds, and I was beating everybody pretty significantly, and they had either not lost any weight or gained just a tad bit over the weekend. I felt like death on Monday morning. I was dehydrated. I had put all my effort into the sauna and the steam room and a hot bath that had Epsom salt and rubbing alcohol and covered my body with an Abilene makeup remover. I was doing everything right. And I looked very lean, very dry. I had a six-pack, no problem. It was crazy. I looked really good when I woke up Monday morning. My eyes were a little sunken in. My cheeks were a little sunken in. Other than that, though, I was doing everything right, and I was willing that if the contest was close, to make that push, not eat any food, not drink any water, and make it to Tuesday and be on point, if not Wednesday and win. I would have done that, but the competition was slacking. And I'm not going to kill myself for no reason just to have bragging rights on a bunch of people that don't matter in an office that I could care less about. Right? Not going to do that to myself. So I started eating again that night, and I've been eating, regular since then. Today is Thursday at the time I'm doing this. And you know what? Not crazy. I weigh 220 right now. So in theory, I probably lost 2 to 3 pounds of fat, probably still a little bit dehydrated, but I feel great. I feel lean. I plan on wrestling this next show at about 2:15. I feel like I'm going to be pretty lean at 215 at that show. No heavier than 220. Maybe, but I'd like to be around 215. I'm wanting to live the rest of 2020 as lean as I possibly can. Last year I was heavy. This year I want to be lean. I've put on the muscle. I want to show it off. So that's how the weight loss challenge went. It kind of ended prematurely with me winning, of course. Next question. Hey, Gunner, what is a typical day like for you? How do you start your day? So Gary answered this last week on the show, and I really dug his answer. He said that he cut his day into thirds, and I thought that was really cool. I guess I cut my day into thirds as well, but I didn't never think of it that way. So here's what a typical work day for me looks like. My alarm goes off at 4 o'clock in the morning. I try to have all my clothes laid out for the gym in the kitchen. That way I don't wake up Tia or Marcus in the bedroom. I walk into the kitchen, hopefully after not hitting snooze, but sometimes I'm not going to lie, I do. But I walk into the kitchen, put my clothes on in the kitchen. For the majority of 2019 and now, I'm fasting in the morning, so I will fix myself an energy drink of some sort, whether that is a pre-workout or a natural energy drink or a Bang or a Rain. This right here, I believe my buddy Chris gave this to me. This is an Isogenics botanical energy drink. It's not bad. It is what it is. I've had that before. I've had Spark from Advocare before. So some type of a caffeine to jumpstart this machine in the morning. And then I try to be in the gym between 4:30 and 4:45 a.m. I like to sit in the sauna 10 minutes before I work out. I like to work out for roughly between an hour and an hour and a half, and then sit in the sauna again for another 10 to 20 minutes. I like to be home by around 6:30 so I can wake Tia and Marcus up so that I can shower and get ready and try to be out the door by between 7 and 7:15. If I have to take Marcus to school that day, I do, and I'm done with that early. But if I don't, sometimes I don't, and I just head on into the office. I try to be into the office around 7:30 a.m. to try to get caught up on what's going on in the world. And then the work day for me starts. That's 8 to 5. I usually eat lunch around 1 or 2. So that's the first meal that I have. Try to eat something light so that I'm not, bogged down or cloudy for the rest of the day. And then at the end of the day, depending on the day, I try to just go home and relax. So that's, for the most part, what I do. On Thursdays, my busy day. At 5 p.m., I go straight into the studio. I start prepping for the podcast, talk to the guys about whatever, film the podcast, record the podcast, whatever we need to do, and then try to get it out that night to where it's ready to roll in the morning. The typical weekend day, so a day off for me, also try to stay getting up fairly early, right? So, but if I'm going to stay up later on the weekend probably as well. So I try to get 8 hours sleep, but try to get up as early as possible. I like to hit the gym after I wake up, still fasted, go to the gym, sauna, workout, sauna, back home, and then it's whatever we have in store for the day, whether it's going and spending time with my family, going and spending time with her family, running errands, moving, laundry, cleaning, picking things up, going and buying stuff, whatever it is that we need to get done on the weekend, try to get it done. So yeah, right now I'm actually on vacation, and it feels fantastic because today was Thursday, and here's how this day went. I woke up at 8 o'clock. I went to the gym, sauna, gym, sauna, got all the energy in me, did a couple errands, ran home, got ready, went and watched Jumanji. It was what it was. It's not the best movie in the world, but it's funny. It's got The Rock in it, Kevin Hart, Jack Black. I'm a fan. I enjoyed it. Had a great time. Ate some popcorn. Had a cherry Coke. Lived a little, right? Lived a little. And then straight in here to do the podcast at the studio. So that's pretty much what a typical day is currently like for me. I'm hoping that changes a little bit. I would like to have a little bit more time in the morning for myself. And one of these days, I'm gonna get out of the 8 to 5 have to be their office schedule. One of these days, that's going to happen. So we'll wait and see when. But I would like to have a little bit more time for myself in the morning and more of a condensed work schedule where I can really hone in and grind out some good quality focused work instead of just trying to make it last for over the day, So there's that. All right, here's another question. Hey Gunner, what is your plan for 2020? Well, we've talked about the podcast. We've talked about the body. We've talked about what a typical day looks like currently and what I want it to look like. So here's my biggest plan for 2020. And everyone has their New Year's resolutions in December, and they're fired up to hit the ground running. And what's it going to be for January 1st, right? That's not how I work. I'm a guy that works in habits and trying to establish good habits. So what I've done for the first 23 days of this month is try to establish a habit, and from habits, find out what the goals are going to be moving forward. And I've kind of started now. So my main goal for 2020 is to establish 7 streams of revenue for myself. So I've got to look at myself as a brand. I've got to look at myself as a business and find 7 ways to generate revenue for the business of Gunner Miller, for the business, the brand of Gunner Miller. That's what I have to do. So I was looking at some ways that I was trying to generate income over the past year. My career, which is logistics. That is my number one source of income, 100%. Pro wrestling. Didn't do it much last year, but this year, this is going to be the first year that wrestling is a net profit for me. So that's going straight to savings, going straight into an account of its own. And that will be an account that's over $1,000. That might not be much to a lot of you, right? But I'm going to wrestle I'm going to wrestle 12 times, and I'm going to save over $1,000 in wrestling this year. Keep that in mind. That's without merchandise. That's just appearance. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind for yourself. Personal training. I am all about giving people advice, helping people, motivating people. I'm willing to let you work out with me if you just show up at the right time. So I'm going to figure out a way to make money in personal training. In 2019, I made a few $1,000s in personal training. So there's that. Commentary. In 2019, I did my first Division I football game for the UTC Mocs in commentary. I made a couple $100s there. This year, after February, I'm going to be doing commentary for a regional MMA league, RFL, and I'm sure that will pay out some pretty good money, right? And that's going to also go into its own separate account. The plan is to generate some sort of revenue with this podcast, whether it is Patreon or if it is sponsorship or whatever it might be. And that and the personal training might kind of go hand in hand with the Patreon, different tiers of subscriptions or whatever it might be. So I have 2 openings for how I want to generate revenue in 2020. One of them, I'm leaning towards a multi-level marketing type approach. A lot of people don't like them. Why? Because you're asking friends, asking family, asking people you know to buy from you. Well, I'm at the point, I've done this in advocate and been successful. It is what it is. But I'm at the point right now where I'm like, dude, what if I could make an extra $2,000 a month, putting a couple hours a day into networking with people? What if I could do that and put that straight into savings? So I want to do a multi-level marketing, some type of a deal that's going to go straight into savings. Whatever I make in it, straight profit, straight into savings. And then number 7 is going to be investing. My brother-in-law is a financial advisor, former Division I athlete, married my sister, who is a Division I Hall of Famer. She's the athlete in the family, and he's been successful throughout his entire life. I look up to him for a lot of things. Very good role model and very smart financially. So I'm going to have him on one of the future Chat with Gunner episodes. And that 7th stream, I want it to go into investing. I want my money to make me money while I'm sleeping. So whether it's a Roth account or we're putting money into stocks or mutual funds, whatever it might be, that's the plan for 2020. And then I want to be able to generate a revenue from all 7 of those. And I know it's possible. I know it's going to happen. And that's good. That's pretty cool. Once I can start doing that, that'll be pretty cool. And by October, I'm 100% debt free. My car will be paid off. And that's a good feeling. I purchased my car in 2014. It's the first big boy purchase I had to establish my credit. So that's really cool that's going to be done. And I'm in a pretty good place, working towards some financial freedom. Reading books, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Dave Ramsey, just opening my eyes. The way I break it down to people when I'm saying my goals for 2020 financially is I have crushed my life when it comes to being motivated, inspired, and going after everything that I could do right as far as my body. If I could take that same mindset and put it towards my money, I can absolutely crush life and be wealthy and be generous with my money and be giving and do whatever I want to do. Not that I'm in a bad place whatsoever, because I'm not. 28 years old, I'm okay. But I could really knock this thing out of the park, and it's got to take me being aware. It's got to be budgeting. It's got to be writing down goals, not just with my body and my career, but with my finances. And that is my plan for 2020. 7 streams of income that are going into the business of Gunner Miller and building wealth while I'm sleeping. That's the plan. So that was the questions for this episode of Chat with Gunner. So this is a very short episode of Chat with Gunner. Next week we're going to try to have a guest on. If not, we'll come up with something. But keep tuning in to these weekly episodes. Head on over to Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review. And write something about it. Write something nice. And after you do that, listen, guys, the podcast is free. The information is free. The topics are free. Direct message me, instant message me, email me at chatwithgunner@gmail.com. Give me some things to talk about. Ask me some questions that you want to have answered. And share this with some friends. Share this with 5 people. That's how you pay me back. This is free, completely free until it's on Patreon. The way you pay me is with support by sharing, liking, and giving reviews. You can head over to YouTube. You should subscribe to the channel, like the channel, share the channel. All this will be posted up on the 60 Minute Broadway page, on my personal Facebook page, on my LinkedIn page, everywhere that I can be on your wall. That's where I'm going to be. So thank you guys for listening. I appreciate the support. So do me one last favor and just share this. Share this real quick, and then tune in next week. We'll try to have each episode posted up by Friday morning. That's the goal for right now. So again, I really appreciate you guys coming on. This holds me accountable, and that's really the biggest thing: being consistent, being persistent. That's the keys to success, and doing this each week is holding me to a whole new standard, and it's really opening my eyes to a bunch of things that I was unaware of, just not being mindful of in the past. So I thank you guys for that as well, making me a better me. And I hope that some of the things that I say can make you think and make you strive to be a better you. So we'll see you next week right here on Chat with Gunner.